If I was starting Mounjaro today, knowing what I know now, I'd avoid the biggest mistake I made in the first few weeks. I thought this was just about weight loss, and that's exactly what I did. I focused on the scales, I focused on the dose, and I focused on how fast I could lose weight, and I completely underestimated how much of this is actually about mindset, habits, and expectations. Mounjaro and weight loss medications really do work, and I believe they're a miracle drug, and they've had such a huge impact to so many people's lives. It's unbelievable. But how you start matters far more than you realise, especially if you want this to stick long term. And as I move more into maintenance, this stuff matters even greater. So if you're new here, my name's Mounjaro, and I've lost 71 pounds now in just under 7 months taking Mounjaro, and I inject 5 milligrams every single Sunday in my belly. This channel is basically a running log of what actually happens, the good bits and the stuff that nobody warns you about. So in this video, I'm not giving you medical advice, I'm not telling anyone what to do, I'm just sharing what I would do differently if I was starting again today from day one. So the first thing I'd change if I was starting again would be my expectations. When I started Mounjaro, I think like a lot of people, I quietly expected it to be fast, clean, and completely effortless, but it's not. You see all these stories online, you see all these stories on YouTube, the massive numbers, the weight people are losing is huge, the dramatic drops, and it's hard not to think that's how it's going to go for you too. But what I learned with my progress on Mounjaro is it's not always predictable. Now, I've had plateaus that have lasted 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll be honest, at the time they've absolutely broken me. What am I doing wrong? Why am I not losing weight? Why is this not happening? I'm following the rules, I'm upping my protein, I'm upping my hydration, still at a plateau. You've got to remember that some weeks nothing happens. Some weeks you're going to feel great, and other weeks you wonder, is it even working? Am I wasting my money? And if you're paying for that medication as well, like a lot of us are, I mean, I'm paying over £200 a month for my dose, so that's £50 a week. You want it to work, but your progress isn't linear. It's not how it works. So if I was starting today, I'd expect these fluctuations, these pauses, and a little bit of doubt. But just remember, these aren't signs that it's failing. They're all part of the process. Some days you're going to lose weight, some days you're not. It's all part of this magical weight loss medication journey that we're all on. So one of the other big mistakes I made before I started taking this Mounjaro is purely basing my success on what the scales say. And I know now that I should have taken measurements, should have taken more photos, and that would have given me something a little bit other than the scales to judge my progress on. Now, I still weigh every single day, and sometimes it's twice a day. Always weigh in the morning, sometimes weigh in the evening before I go to bed. And I know that's an awful habit. But what I did, and what I still do, is I judge everything on what those numbers on the scales say. And if I'm honest, it can be a little bit tiring. So if you start this weight loss medication journey with the mindset that this is a long game, and it really, really is. I mean, I'm nearly 7 months in now, and yes, it's been a success, but it's a long time. It really is quite a long time. Don't chase what the scales say. Don't chase that success. Everything's going to feel a little bit calmer, and you're building something there that's going to last. You're going to have that longevity in your journey, and that mental shift alone would have saved me a lot of unnecessary stress early on and into my journey. Right, before we move on to the next one, just wanted to say thank you ever so much for supporting this channel. If you could like this video, it would be amazing. If you've got a question for Saturday's Q&A video, pop it down below in the comments. If you could mark it Q&A, because I do have a habit of reading the comments, answering the questions in the comments, whereas really I need a little bit of a nudge just to remind me that I'm supposed to be saving it for Saturday's Q&A video. So if you could do that, that would be amazing. Just so you know, I do have a membership now where I share a little bit more of my day-to-day journey, and if that's useful for you, feel free to sign up. But absolutely, as always, no pressure to do so. And if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do, because all it means is if you're starting this journey or if you're on this journey, you're not doing it alone. And not only are you helping me out, it's also going to hopefully help you out, because you'll come back and watch a video and I'm able to share some of the little bits and bobs I've learned over the last just under 7 months on this weight loss medication journey. So the third thing I'll do, and I was not necessarily too guilty of this, would be to look at your doses and look how quickly you rise up the doses. Now, I did 4 weeks at 2.5 milligrams, then I moved to 3.75 milligrams, which I did for around about 4 months before moving up to 5 milligrams in sort of month 6. Now, there's no harm in slowing this down. There's no harm in not rising up the doses as per the instructions, as per the manufacturers. They tell you to do 2.5 for 4 weeks, 5 for 4 weeks, 7.5 for 4 weeks, bang, 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 like that. You don't need to do that. And if you're losing weight, there's no need to do that. So when you start, it's so easy to fall into that mindset and that trap that more of this medication is better. Week 4, got to move up. Week 8, got to move up. And it's everywhere online. They're emailing you saying, time to go up your dose. And honestly, if you're losing weight, that doesn't need to be the case. And honestly, some of the best weeks I've had are some of the weeks when I was on a lower dose, and it just felt normal and it felt right. And the appetite cues were there and the food noise was gone. And those were the ones with the biggest losses. And those were also the ones on the lower doses. So if I was starting this journey again today, I wouldn't treat every week like a test that I needed to pass, and I wouldn't assume a quiet week meant something was wrong. But at the same time, as soon as I had a quiet week or a plateau week or a low weight loss week, I wouldn't go reaching for the Mounjaro pen and saying I need to go up a dose, because progress doesn't always need to look dramatic, and sometimes it can be boring. But at the same time, if you're losing weight, you don't need to rush up these doses. You don't need to waste your money if you're paying for it. Just keep it slow, keep it steady, and ultimately that mindset's going to change and you're going to head in the right direction and you'll get to go weight. I mean, I'm a little way off go weight still now after my little cheeky weight gain over Christmas, but I'm going to stick to 5 milligrams probably for the foreseeable future, and then we'll reassess it at that point. But trust me, if you're losing weight, you don't need to feel pressured to go up these doses. Right, let's talk about food then. So the next part I would change would be my approach to food, because early on I massively overcomplicated it. I was looking for rules, I was looking what I could eat, what I shouldn't eat, and whether I was doing it right. If I was starting again today, I wouldn't try and change everything at once. I wouldn't chase those perfect macros, the special plans, or look for these special Mounjaro foods. I probably didn't even enjoy that much, to be honest. What actually made the biggest difference for me was listening to my appetite and not trying to control my appetite. Paying attention to my hunger, my fullness, and how food made me feel, instead of trying to force a whole new system on top of everything. Some days it just meant eating simply, other days it meant just stopping eating earlier and walking away from that plate while there was still food on it, which for me was a massive mindset change. Huge for me, because if there's food on the plate, I would generally eat it. So it's about doing nothing dramatic, just making better decisions. And like I said, leave that food on the plate, leave that buffet earlier, and not feel guilty about that, because this is what the medication is going to do to you. So if I was starting now, I'd remind myself, you don't need to win at eating in week 1. You just need to make notes of the changes that are happening to your appetite, your fullness, and all those different cues that you're going to get from taking Mounjaro. Allow yourself permission to move at a calmer pace, and this is going to make this whole journey so much easier, so much calmer to live with. If you're starting Mounjaro now, or if Christmas has just knocked you off your rhythm ever so slightly, you don't need to restart perfectly. You don't need a dramatic plan. You don't need a strict reset. You don't need to become a completely different version of yourself overnight. You don't need to have this dramatic January punishment plan. Consistently comes from being calm and not putting yourself under pressure. And it's all about making routines that you can repeat and not rules you have to fight constantly. So most of the progress I made didn't come from the massive decisions. It came from showing up the next day without any drama, even when things felt quiet and slow. So wherever you are right now, you're not behind, you're just in the middle of it. And that's exactly where you're meant to be. Those are the things I would do differently today if I was starting Mounjaro. So thanks again for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button, leave a comment down below. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you are thinking about starting a Mounjaro journey, you're already on a Mounjaro journey, then please click subscribe. I'll be back on Saturday with my weekly update and Q&A video. And don't forget, if you've got a question for my Saturday Q&A video, leave it down below in the comments. But once again, thanks for watching and enjoy your week.